You all know that Timcast IRL isn't my favorite show in the world, and I've been very critical of Tim Pool in the past, but recently the guy's been on fire and there's nothing you can really say to dispute that. He's bringing on guests and he's questioning them, and he's just using logic and reason to absolutely destroy all of their arguments, and he does it once again here. This Gays Against Groomer, I think it's the founder, Jaimee Mitchell is her name, and she goes on here and she tries her very best to promote DeSantis and try to disparage Trump and all of the Trump supporters out there, and she gets obliterated by Tim Pool, who he's not like necessarily a hardcore Trumper. He just, like I said, uses logic and reason to destroy these low IQ people who, for whatever reason, continue to go on Timcast and continue to embarrass themselves. But let's check out some of these clips from the show, some of these highlights that I thought were probably the best moments. But I recommend you go give the entire thing a watch. It was a good show. And like I said, man, Tim Pool and his supporting guests as well have been really good at just pointing out the logical fallacies that these people come on his shows with. Let's check these clips out.
Sanctimonious and DeSanctus, which is, I don't know what that means, but I believe that the cult of personality is so strong with Donald Trump that these lies and names and slander that he's throwing at DeSantis is literally changing the minds of these people who once, not very long ago, loved DeSantis and were saying, make America Florida.
That makes no sense, though.
How does that not make sense?
How could someone be a Trump supporter to the degree that they would vote for Ron DeSantis until Donald Trump told them not to, and then they decided to vote for Trump
Well, the polls
instead?
were completely reversed not long ago.
Right, so your logic makes no sense.
Yes, it does, because then
someone was going to vote for Trump, but actually we're going to vote for DeSantis.
You're not understanding what I'm saying.
So someone was going to vote for DeSantis.
Yeah, he's misrepresenting it just a little bit, but you can fully understand where he's coming from, and he's definitely right here. What she is trying to say is that someone valued Donald Trump's opinion so much that they were able to be swayed by Donald Trump telling them to not vote for Ron DeSantis, and that's what flipped the polls. It doesn't make any sense that if someone was to value Donald Trump's opinion over Ron DeSantis's opinion, that they weren't already going to vote for Donald Trump. And what she is saying, what Jaimee Mitchell is saying here to Tim Pool, is that the polls were flipped because people who valued Donald Trump's opinions so much that whenever Donald Trump said, do not vote for Ron DeSantis, I don't like Ron DeSantis, that they flipped their vote from Ron DeSantis to Donald Trump, even though they already valued Donald Trump's opinion over Ron DeSantis's opinion. It doesn't make any sense at all. But Tim Pool is just messing it up a little tiny bit by saying instead of valuing opinions, he is using a pseudonym for that and saying voting for instead of saying valuing opinions.
DeSantis until Trump told them not to and said, okay, I'll vote for Trump instead.
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
Yes, it does.
They were either a Trump supporter or DeSantis supporter.
No, it's not that they weren't anti-Trump, but they preferred DeSantis. And all these polls, if you remember from a few months ago, like 6 months ago, there were a million polls all the time. Who do you want to see the nominee, Trump or DeSantis? And DeSantis was winning every single one. Then Trump started going on his unhinged attacks every single day.
The people who didn't like Trump believed Trump over DeSantis.
There you go.
Yes. But I'm not saying
that's a failure of DeSantis.
No. I'm not saying that they didn't like Trump. I'm saying that they saw that DeSantis was a better option. And now, between the constant like pressure campaign from Trump slandering DeSantis and making everybody think he's some rhino, you talk about AI generated art. I mean, Trump posts on Truth Social.
For one, I don't really understand what Trump is saying that's so bad about Ron DeSantis. He gave him a funny nickname, just like he does with all of his other political opponents, especially people that he views as an actual threat. I think that Ron DeSantis and the Ron DeSantis supporters should take that as somewhat of a compliment because he's not out there giving every single Republican candidate a funny nickname. It's because he actually sees Ron DeSantis as a threat. Ron DeSantis actually has a chance of winning. And I'm one of those people, I would rather Trump win over Ron DeSantis, but I can definitely see that Ron DeSantis is a threat to Donald Trump and winning the Republican Party. There's no doubt about it. So I think that that's not really that bad to have Ron DeSanctimonious as a funny little nickname that Donald Trump makes up. I don't really understand what else he's saying that's so bad about Ron DeSantis, but DeSantis is doing the same thing, and Tim Pool will go over that in another clip, with these AI generated images of Donald Trump hugging Fauci and all these other lies that Ron DeSantis and Ron DeSantis's team is also spewing about Donald Trump. It's not like this is only going one way. It's not like Donald Trump is out there saying blatant lies about Ron DeSantis, but Ron DeSantis is manufacturing images, AI images of Donald Trump doing things that he never did.
These are all reasons why last year I was saying Ron DeSantis was the guy for the job. Trump's old,
is.
Ron's younger.
Yes, exactly.
Ron's got great policies.
How about no more geriatrics in the White House?
This person, Jaimee Mitchell, is also very unlikable, like just the way that they act. So it would have been best if they just never went on Timcast and nobody ever knew who Jaimee Mitchell was, because personally, I don't really know who that is. I mean, I know it's a Gays Against Groomers person, but the only reason why I know that is because they went on Timcast. Like, that's the only reason. And I think it's the same for a lot of other people. I think a lot more people would have supported Gays Against Groomers in the past. I think they probably lost more fans than they gained from this Timcast appearance, but that's just my personal opinion. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. agree.
He's got youthful vigor and military service, things that Donald Trump doesn't have. And then when Donald Trump relaunched his campaign, and there were a few key issues, especially relating to the war in Ukraine, and I believe Trump will end it over. I don't think even Trump as a person with words will end it. I think the Trump persona will be a contributing factor in ending it, which I talked about earlier. Put me at like I don't know, we'll see, 50-50. I like Ron DeSantis. He's a great proven track record in Florida. And then Ron made a bunch of mistakes. Notably, one of the big issues for me was the deep fake thing, which his campaign has completely refused to acknowledge, apologize for.
I just don't think it's that big of a deal. I think
it's so funny how she says that Ron DeSantis and Ron DeSanctimonious is such a big deal, and it's why the polls flipped from 50-50 to heavily favoring Donald Trump. That's such a big deal, and yet using AI generated images to show Donald Trump hugging Fauci and doing other things that he has never done and say things that he has never said, that's not a big deal at all. It's these people who I'm just going to straight up say it, man. These people who are bought out by the DeSantis campaign, by the DeSantis team, it's so blatant. It's just so obvious, man. And if you don't think so, let me know in the comments why you think these people aren't bought out. But in my opinion, man, it's very obvious. The people that you see on Twitter, the people who are part of certain media outlets, you can see it's so obvious who's bought out by that campaigin.
The media lying is one of my biggest pet peeves, one of my biggest issues I've complained about for years.
But it's not a lie. It's not a lie. The photo is not real. He never did. I mean, he may have hugged Fauci, but that picture was not real. But he did embrace Fauci. Huh?
It's 3 photos.
Okay, whatever. He never hugged Fauci. Those photos are not real. Those 3 photos, whatever, are not real. But he did embrace Fauci, and that is worse. He did embrace Fauci. It's a lot worse than just hugging him one time. He embraced Fauciism. He let Fauci run the freaking country.
But hold on. But then this is the problem.
So I don't understand why that's such a big deal. But Trump embracing Fauci is not.
So, but no. You can say that both are bad, and you can say that one of the issues with DeSantis one of the issues with DeSantis making these deepfakes is that it's a great deflection point for Trump. If DeSantis wants to bring up Trump's relationship with Fauci during the debates, or any other candidate that wants to bring that up, Trump just goes, more lies, more deep fakes, and he can say that credibly because there was a deep fake. There was a real deep fake made that was claimed to be.
I think voters are smart enough to understand that people are bringing up, how he handed the presidency over to him, and not just like a 2-second clip from a quick ad.
But the thing is, a quick soundbite response is very persuasive to the American public.
I get that.
So Trump just being able to say, you've made deep fakes of me and Fauci, we're not going to listen to you, you have no credibility here, is going to be a massive asset.
And the moderator is going to say, this is correct. Governor DeSantis, you did do this. How do you respond?
And then after that clip, she had an absolute meltdown, as this person says here. Here's a quick 15-second snippet of that meltdown. This is when these people start to go mask off. Whenever you start unraveling their arguments, whenever they start just making no sense in comparison to you, saying that Ron DeSanctimonious is some evil nickname, and then AI generating images of Donald Trump hugging Fauci is no big deal. And then whenever you get called out on this is how you react. This is the mask off moment for these people who are bought out by the DeSantis campaign.
It's a different experience than me and a lot of people that I know. So
exactly.
So who's to say which version is correct, and if that's reflective of the whole? What do you mean?
Trump will win.
She got so hurt whenever he said this is why Trump will win. What do you mean? She was so hurt, man.
Because his supporters are crazy.
Because if people
that could be why.
Like me and Luke.
And then she knew as soon as she said, because his supporters are crazy. And then she was like, oh shit, I just went mask off. And then she's like, okay, I got to agree now. That could be why. That could be why. It just shows you how these people really view you if you don't fully buy into the narrative that they're talking about. And once again, I think these people are bought out by the DeSantis campaign. I think that we've seen screenshots and certain things that very much point towards that. I'm not saying with Jaimee Mitchell in particular, the founder of Gays Against Groomers, I'm not saying that organization has been bought out for sure. I'm just saying that her talking points are very similar to other people who we do know are being paid off by the DeSantis campaign. I'm just saying that. I'm not saying 100% she is. I'm just saying it very much the opinions and the way that she's talking about Trump and DeSantis, it points towards that quite a bit. And in this clip, Jaimee Mitchell talks about how Vivek, I think is how you pronounce his name, Ramaswamy, is sucking up to Donald Trump by saying that he would pardon him if he was elected, and that other Republican candidates should do the same thing if they are elected, should pardon him from his false indictments. This is what she's saying, that Vivek Ramaswamy is sucking up to Donald Trump by saying that he would pardon him if he was elected, and he asked other Republican candidates if they would pardon him as well.
He's sucking up to Trump a little.
No, Vivek?
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
He's a hardcore Trumper.
Yeah, I've interviewed him multiple times,
I mean, I'm saying perception-wise, from the outside, he literally went down to Miami and gave a huge speech, in support of Trump.
Yeah, because of the false indictments.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit different from being a Trumper, though. Right?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, but I think he continuously praises Trump. I mean, because he understands that you can't lose that base, right? Or he's scared of it. He's scared to lose the cult base.
I think that's
the Magadonians.
I think that's unwarranted. Vivek is in my view the most honest guy running.
So because Vivek was saying that he would pardon Donald Trump if he was elected, and he said that other Republican candidates should do the same, or at the very least explain why they wouldn't pardon Donald Trump if they were elected, that he is scared, he's terrified of the cult that Donald Trump has, the cult following that Donald Trump has, the Magadonians, as she says. It's so cringe, this stuff that they're trying to do to disparage Donald Trump and disparage everybody who supports him. I personally think that Vivek should be Donald Trump's VP, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Let me know in the comments what you think about this Timcast appearance from Jaimee Mitchell, the founder of Gays Against Groomers, and how do you feel about Tim Pool and how he did disparaging her arguments against Donald Trump and in favor of Ron DeSantis. And like I said earlier, I don't think Tim Pool is some Trumper. I don't think that Tim Pool is totally against Ron DeSantis. He even said it earlier, he was kind of 50-50, and I think it's kind of swaying towards Donald Trump a bit with the the lies from the DeSantis campaign, with the AI generated images of Donald Trump doing things that he has never done. But let me know how you feel about this whole debate between Tim Pool and Jaimee Mitchell. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments.